Hey people, Dolphin Doug in Juneau. I wanted to show you what muskeg is today. It is October 29th, 2023. You've got this beautiful, beautiful sphagnum moss. It's red right now because it's fall. And I'm out here wearing rubber boots. This is muskeg. It's right off the North Douglas Highway. This area, this is me being a little bit sciencey, but this area is here because we've got mountains, we've got ocean out there, but we have very poor drainage in here. It just won't drain out fast enough, so the soil stays wet. As a consequence, you can't get good root structure, and you end up with acidic things growing, and so the water ends up being acidic. Sphagnum grows well in the acidity, but these trees are struggling. They're likely older than you can imagine. Perhaps 100 years, perhaps 300 years. They just have a hard time growing. Now, they might only be 20 years old. I'm not going to cut one down and find it. But if you cut one of these down, you'll find the tree rings are very, very close together. Here's one somebody probably cut for a Christmas tree. I can't get any rings off of it. I'm right off the highway and people still cut Christmas trees. We're in Alaska. There's so few of us and there's so much of this country. You know, harvesting from Alaska, I have to say, I have to think it's what we do. You know, your places you are, you probably don't believe in interaction as much. You know, part of being Alaskan is loving being up here. There's still plenty of room. So to say that I shouldn't be hiking out here because there's no trail, I just don't personally agree with that. I think the beauty of Alaska is interacting with the environment, and I hope you're able to interact with your environment as well. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to do well in New York with Central Park and say, gee, that's wilderness. I want a place like this where there might be a bear, there might be a wolf, there might be an eagle that drops on my hat, okay? That's the kind of place I want to be. Now here's another little spot. You see this, just looks like a puddle. I bet you're thinking, oh, it's no big deal. I could jump right across that section. You can see the bottom through there. Right? How deep do you think that is? Well, I'll tell you. It's probably at the deepest 8 inches deep. But that muck down there, I have seen my dog jump into a pond like this, and she disappeared until just her nose stuck out. It's likely if I were to step in there, I would drop in until just my neck was sticking out. It's going to be goo. I'm not going to drown in it because it's heavier than water. I'm going to have to very laboriously crawl over to the edge and come out. I will not put my foot in there. I've also taken a walking stick, you know, a full-length walking stick, stuck it in one of these things until my hand hit the water and there was nothing there. So if you're in Muskeg, as I'm walking, it's squishy underneath my feet. You got to be paying attention to what's going on. Now, this sphagnum moss keeps piling up year after year, century after century, and that's where peat comes from. Coal comes from places like this from a long time ago if it gets piled up high enough and then stacked on top. Coal is carbon sequestration. Oops. I see some litter, got to go pick it up. But coal is carbon sequestration. Not that it's easy. This little pothole right here, I would not be surprised if I actually could go in a long ways in there. But coal is carbon sequestration from a long time ago because it's so acidic, and at these northern latitudes, it's so cold that the microbes can't digest the organic matter and turn it back into carbon dioxide. So it piles up, not very fast, but you give the length of the planet's been around, give it 50,000 years and you might have a coal bed here. Now you don't really, you get peat beds, and they're all over Europe. They harvest them sometimes for heat. It ends up being peat for a long, long time before it turns to coal. But that's what's happening here. Now, we're not going to get peat here. We might, because I can't predict the future. But this is Alaska. And while you can't see it, right up there, can't see it, but there's a little glacier up there. Behind this mountain is a much bigger glacier. It's a 1,500 square mile Juneau ice field. And literally this is pretty cool. I am 50 yards off the highway. And other than I can see a tower from cell phones over there, and I can see power lines, I could be in the middle of nowhere. Muskeg is all over Alaska. You get it in places that drain poor. They don't form peat beds unless you've got a lot of organic growth here. It's a really slow process. But in some time in the next 20,000 years, before this peat gets all that much longer, I would predict that a glacier is going to come back and scrape this thing silly. So are we going to get coal here? Probably not, with all the glaciers coming and going. Our ice field grows and shrinks. It's been shrinking for hundreds of years, well prior to humans getting involved in it. It's going to keep shrinking for hundreds of years no matter what we do. That's kind of cooked in. Is it going to grow after that? I don't actually know. So here's your muskeg. Enjoy. Stay warm and dry. Pick up litter when you're in Alaska. And I hope you have extra tufts.